Hey guys, August is done, so how much more reading did I get in? Hey guys, if you are new here, welcome to the Book Path. I'm Nicole, and if this isn't your first rodeo, thanks for sticking around. I read a little bit more since our last check-in for August. Did I get everything done? Not on your life. Nope. It will roll over once again into September, and we'll get to that at the end. Let's go over the things that I did finish reading. So when I last did my video, we had just finished the Literature Readathon, and I was still working on the Song of Achilles. So I did go ahead and finish this. This was for the prompt for Literature Readathon of the LGBTQ prompt, and then I could read whatever I wanted and got points for Battleathon for the House of Wings. And I ended up giving this one 3 stars. I didn't like it as much as I liked Circe. I felt the writing styles were just a little bit different. This one felt more fictional, but on the verge of like history report, where Circe feels much more poetic in the way that it's written, and it grips you more emotionally than this does. This was good. I liked it up until the point where Achilles and Patroclus are on their way to fight in the Trojan War. And it hit me at this point, like I've known about the Trojan War, I've known about Achilles, I've known about Patroclus, but it wasn't until reading this book that I really had to do a little bit of research on my own, and just how young they actually were during this experience, right? Like just really how young, that this actually could have been Achilles' very first kind of battle in some ways. So that was very interesting. But once they joined up with the fleet to go to Troy, it just became like you're going through the motions. And that's where I mean, like the history report kind of came in, because a lot of the kind of bonding and emotional pull, even though it was very mild, and I felt it was still very one-sided because we're hearing the story from Patroclus' point of view, I don't ever really felt like you saw all the emotion come out of Achilles until like it was too late, and even then, after that incident happens, if you don't know the Trojan War, I'm not gonna, bust your bubble on this one. I'll let you have that one. But obviously, if you know what happens, then you know what happens. And once that did happen, I just felt like it was dragging on kind of afterwards, and what was going on. So it was what it was. I think it was a very interesting retelling and way of retelling the story of the Trojan War from, Achilles and Patroclus' point of view, and a little bit beforehand. But it just didn't do for me as well as Circe did. So I wasn't, 3 stars, got my prompts in. I have read it now. I can say I've read it now. So we are good to go. So next up, I ended up picking up Kings of Wrath. This is the first book by Anna Huang in the Kings of Sin series. Obviously, this is kind of tying into the Twisted series up there by the same author. This one was also one of the books that had been left over from the Literature Readathon. This was for the POC characters or authors. And Anna Huang is a POC author, as well as her character Vivian Lau was also a POC character. This also got me points for Battleathon, as well as extra points because it has king in it, and for the House of Wings prompt was anything with like royalty in the title. So this one I ended up giving 3 stars to as well. It was what it was. I felt like, as far as the emotional dynamics in the relationships, the pull towards the relationship, and even like the spice, were very tame or lacking in comparison to the Twisted series. I thought it was interesting because you do get crossover. So I would recommend reading the Twisted series first, so that you understand when characters make an appearance in here, because there are not only character crossovers, there's parts of this story that are a little bit more enhanced parts of the Twisted series stories. So you kind of see a little bit more as to what happened for those parts, but in these books, if that makes sense. It's a little confusing. But it was just kind of a very go with the flow. You kind of already knew what the dilemmas were going to be. You kind of already, got where it was going. It just, for me, it never really had a spike in the tension or in the passion or whatever. It just, everything just kind of felt very like just status. And I did love the scene, on the date scene, where they go to the club and Dante makes the like stars appear for her. I thought that was really sweet. That was probably my favorite scene out of the whole book. It probably was more realistic of a story in comparison to the others. So like I said, 3 stars. I do have the other 3 books, so I will be continuing the series to see what goes on, because some of the characters that are going to be the main characters in the next books you have met in here, and some of the relationship dynamics already have kind of pulled me in a little bit for those characters. So hopefully those ones will pan out a little bit better for me than this one. So next up, we got into The Foxglove King by Hannah Whitten. This one, I'm not going to lie, this one took me about 70 pages to actually kind of fully understand what was going on in this world, because it was almost like an info dump where you have a bit of storyline, but there's so much coming at you for the way the world works politically, the addictions that are going on, the underground kind of religion that was there and that isn't there anymore, the myths and myths of the god and the goddess, the kind of the military kind of aspect of it, the runners for the cartel type people in this book. Like, it was just so much that it wasn't until like 70 pages in that I was like, okay, I see where we might be going with this. But I will say, by the end of this book, I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars, probably just because like towards the beginning it was taking a little bit, and there were parts where I felt like maybe there could have been just a little bit more, especially in regards to the possibility of the love triangle that may or may not be, because I was kind of still trying to figure out, is this a love triangle? Is it not a love triangle? But it was really interesting, and it was kind of fun because you did kind of have this mystery with her trying to solve it. I will say, I really, really loved Gabe in this, the kind of priestly type bodyguard, whatever. His backstory I thought was really good. The way he kind of acts about things was really well done, and I kind of like, I rooted for him because it's between him and the prince and Lore, and I still have my money on Gabe. I don't know how it's gonna go because it does kind of leave off a little interesting with a switch in some power dynamics, but it was just a really, really interesting world, because you have this world where, and I'm still trying to understand and wrap my head around, there was a god and a goddess and then all these other gods that they ascended, and I don't know if they ascended from being mankind or whatnot, but they ascended to the levels of gods, and the 2 were married, and one was like the goddess, one was the god of like light and life and the good things, and the god, and his wife was like the goddess of like the darkness and everything. And the rumor or the myth is that she was jealous and tried to kill him, and when she killed him, like, she died or something in the conflict, and from her body leaks out this like black ooze, or like this component that basically is destroying like everything comes on. It like instantaneously kills plants, people, animals, whatever. And so there are people who have developed this power to manipulate that kind of darkness or ooze or whatever it is into things and channel it. And Lore has the capability of using it to actually bring the dead back to life, or bring, reanimate them in a way, almost like puppetry. It was really weird, and she's like growing into it as she reaches like, I think 18. And so you have like this kind of magic that not everybody can control. Most of the people that can control it have come to a near death experience. So they joined the kind of religious guard, if you will. And so Gabe is one of those people, and they're tasked, when they get Lore, the king and his brother, who's kind of like the head priest of this group, tell Lore she can either be shipped off in exile, or she can be like a spy for them to spy on the prince because they think the prince is a traitor. And so she has to team up with Gabe and kind of create this fake, like, I'm his cousin because he has like a nobility background. So they're both thrust back into the court life, and she has to spy on the prince. And then obviously the prince finds out what they're doing. And so she becomes like a double, a double spy, where now she's kind of spying for the king because she just doesn't trust something with the king and his brother. And so they're trying to figure out these things and all the secrecy and what's going on. So in that aspect, it actually felt a little like Sherlock Holmesy to me, because like you had this group of young people trying to figure out this kind of crime and what's going on and who really to trust and what's really going on and how do we save the people, and then there's the magic. So it was a lot going on, probably so much more than I could ever do in this review, but I do recommend it. I am really looking forward to getting the sequel, because like I said, I'm like, it started off where I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna really love this, and then like by the end I was like, I actually really did enjoy this. So I do recommend it for murder, mystery, mayhem, intrigues. Obviously check trigger warnings because there is some torture in here. There is obviously mentions of addiction and drugs and things like that. So if those are something for you, then probably not pick this up, but other than that, dive right in. And also, this was actually my pick for one of the Every Romantasy challenge, because we are still going on to that. That wasn't just a 1 month thing. I was trying to do it in 1 month, did not succeed. But this one was basically Forbidden Love. And that was because it said forbidden romance on the back blurb here, but there is kind of a forbidden romance between her and Gabe because Gabe is of the priestly class and they're not supposed to be all romance. But then also because she's technically a commoner and she shouldn't be with the prince either. So it's kind of forbidden each way you look at it. So Forbidden Love, and this one was also something that was available on Kindle Unlimited. I just happened to get it before I noticed it was available on Kindle Unlimited, and I'm happy I did because now I have my little shelf trophy, if you will. But yeah, so that one did achieve that, and it didn't really give me any other of the extras because it didn't have any pirates, didn't have any Vikings, and I don't really think it had any almost kisses. You could try to say falls first, but it's really hard to prove. And there wasn't really a who did this to you because we kind of knew. So like those are ones we are still trying to figure out, but did finish this one. Next up, we decided to go with The Train to Impossible Places. This is a book that was for the Year in Aurelium, for the Magical Readathon, the Year in Aurelium. I believe this was for my male character. Let me just see here. Yeah, this was for my male character. This was for June's prompt. Like, this is how backed up I am in my reading. This is for June's prompt, which was to study the cognition of postal birds. And the prompt was to read a book with an envelope or a typewriter on the cover. And you can't see it on the front, but when you look on the back, this little like troll thing is holding an envelope there. And it does involve like the postal service, if you will. So this one is a middle grade book. I would recommend it for probably about the age of like 9 to 11 or 8 to 11. There are some topics of like physics and mathematics and things that might be a little too advanced for some of the younger crowd. It was a cute book. I ended up giving it 3 stars. It has this girl who I believe they live in the UK, and she is a math and science kind of fanatic, and she's doing her homework one night and her parents like fall asleep on the sofa, and she starts seeing a train in her neighborhood, and she's like, trains don't come through here. And then all of a sudden she hears noises, and the train, there's a troll in her house building tracks for the train to come through her house. And you find out this is kind of like this magical kind of train, and that there's all these different worlds and realms, and they talk about it in like ways of like science and kind of sci-fi, other worlds and alternate dimensions and things like that, which is why I say I'm like, it might be a little over the head of the younger group. But she wants to know what's going on, and so she sneaks on board this train. And so it's kind of her adventures where she kind of lies her way into helping out in the postal car of this train and being the apprentice to the kind of postal captain or whatever he is. And when she's sent to deliver a package to this kind of witch-like lady, um, there is a globe with a frog inside of it, and the frog talks to her and asks her, please save me, don't let her have me. She doesn't know what's going on, so she saves the frog, and obviously there's all this big adventure because now you have this like witch lady on their tail, and you have this big tower of knowledge that's kind of been watching everything go on, and not all is as it seems with the Lord of the Tower here. And the girl and the members of the train are kind of caught in the midst. And as it goes through and she goes to these different worlds, she's finding out kind of what's going on, what really is, who's really the bad people and who's not. It's just kind of her little adventures. In some regards, it gave some Slumber, like Adventures in Slumberland vibes, if you remember like the old 80s Nemo's Adventures in Slumberland. And then you had the new remake film that came out, the live action version, not too long ago. I haven't seen that one, but I have seen the original like animated Nemo's Adventures in Slumberland, and it just gave that kind of vibe where it's this young child in this almost like dreamlike world and adventure, and they have to be the hero and come through. So it was really cute. I think there's like 2 or 3 more books in the series that I may or may not get to. We'll see how it happens. If I need a middle grade prompt, then I might pick them up. I know I have some other middle grade books, but not that many. Otherwise, it might be a series that I reread this one with my kids, and if they like it, then we'll continue this series because, like I said, it was cute. And like, I think for me, it was just because it was middle grade that it didn't make me like go crazy for it. But it did do that prompt, as well as this was one of the prompts for the Reddit Fantasy Bingo Challenge, and it was to read a book with an alliterative title, and the challenge part of that one, the harder mode of that one, was to read something that had like 3 or more words that started with the same letter. And so I had the train 2 right there in the beginning, so it was 3 words. So did hard mode prompt for that one, and we got 1 more off the bingo board for that. Okay, so next up, I did want to try to tackle like something, get something off the list. So I decided to go after the backlog of the Cocky Hero Club that we had for July and August reads. So I went after July's pick that we had, and that was Lucky Bastard by Kaylee Ryan. And I'm so happy that I did that because 5 stars. 5 stars. It was delightful. It was everything it needed to be, and it was great. You have the main character, who is Emma, and Emma works at an animal sanctuary that is owned by Aubrey, who obviously was the romantic interest and main character in Cocky Bastard with Chance. And as you know, I loved Chance. Chance is definitely one of my favorite book boyfriends, if there was. And Aubrey owns the animal sanctuary, and Emma works for her. And Chance has just taken a position as the coach for the kickers on this football team. And so Aubrey and Chance invite Emma to go along with them to the Family and Friends Day for this football team. And it's there that she meets Landon. And Landon, I think he's the quarterback. I can't remember. I think he's the quarterback though, but he's one of the more famous players on the team, obviously gorgeous looking. And he sees Emma, and right away he wants to flirt with her, and he thinks she's just going to be like all the other girls because he's got that Playboy past. And Emma's like, nope. And I love her because some of the stuff she would say, I'm like, was so much in tune to what I would say, where she's like staring at him and his abs and the thoughts going through her head. And I'm just like, yep, I'm there with you. And then when she would talk about it and how she was like, I know he's the type of guy to do like one night stands and play around. And she goes, I have nothing against that, good for you. But she's like, I'm just not that type. And I was like, understood. And so she is kind of trying to push back on him and reject him, and just kind of be like, no, I am not the girl for you, just move on. And he is so floored that he got rejected, because this is like the first time he's ever been rejected, that at first he starts off being like, all right, well, I'm gonna get her because I want to make sure I can. And then he starts falling, and he falls first, and he falls hard. And the whole entire book is just him trying to prove to her that he's not this playboy, that he's in it for the long run, that he wants her. And the way he goes about it is such the sweetest, cutest, like flirtiest little ways, and you adore him for it. And sometimes you want to be like, okay, just take him, Emma, just take him because he's doing it so much. But you do see kind of her fears of why she's not wanting to do that, and how she's wondering, if she does do it, is it going to be over because he finally got what he wanted? And so those types of things. I loved it because, he is this rich, famous athlete, and she is just literally that girl next door. I work at an animal shelter. I don't make a lot of money, like normal girl. Like, she doesn't try to be anything she's not. She's not dolling herself all up in makeup and walking around in mini skirts or anything like that. She's just very down to earth, t-shirt, leggings, girl type of girl, no frills. And it's just really cute the way that they develop and how the friends and everybody kind of get pulled into this, and it just really unfolds in a great way. And the whole third act breakup or threat to the relationship, if you will, isn't from within. It's something outside that really is not a part of either of them. And I don't want to give too much away, but it's just the fact that what I loved about it is it didn't have that third act breakup. There was no like, I betrayed you, you betrayed me type of thing, if that's a spoiler. But there is kind of an attack on their relationship. And the interesting thing is that Emma never really knows about it. This is something that it happens on Landon's side, and how Landon fights back, and he fights, for control of the situation, and he fights for Emma without her really understanding. And that's kind of how that, transpires. And it was very different from other books, and I really liked it because it was so, like, even though they were like different, and he was like kind of famous and he was like the girl's kind of dream guy, and she's, that girl next door type, their relationship dynamic worked so well and seemed so natural and so realistic. And I loved the fact that it wasn't like you didn't need that tension of this, third act breakup to keep the story going and to reach that kind of pinnacle moment for them. It's just, it just developed and flowed so naturally. And I really, really enjoyed that for it. It was just really different, but it was everything it needed to be. So yeah, definitely 5 stars. Highly recommend it. I think it's so hard to pick between Landon and Chance now in the series. I know that there's another character from Mr. Moneybags that I loved, but Landon might be my favorite cocky hero. I mean, he might be my favorite cocky hero club guy. Like, he really might be. I mean, obviously there's so many more books to go through, but he has definitely, he's tied with Chance for first out of all the guys, out of all the male romantic interests and main characters in this. I'm like, he's definitely tied for first right now. So then I ended up picking up our August Cocky Hero pick, and that was Scottish Player by Karen Francis. This one I ended up giving 3 stars to. It was very predictable. The characters just kind of fell flat for me. The romance kind of felt flat for me. The tropes they used, it was just what you'd expect for a quick romance pickup that you do. It didn't like floor me in any way. There were some fun parts. Obviously being the fact that once again, Chance and Aubrey make an appearance, and I do love that. They were probably my favorite part of it. But I found that I was liking the kind of surrounding characters like Chance, Aubrey, the main character's brother really felt like, I felt he was the most like defined as a character in this whole, in the whole book. But basically you have Sam Walker, who is from Scotland, and she and her friend are in Vegas to kind of just let loose, have a fun, relaxing weekend. And lo and behold, her brother, who is a famous soccer player or football player in the UK, is there for like a bachelor party for his friend. And she is introduced to Jackson Taylor, who is the hot up and coming, soccer star, football star, for that team. And he obviously wants her right away, and he gets pretty possessive pretty quickly, and some stuff happens. But what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, as they say. But it's just kind of like, as thing unfurls, you already know pretty quickly after the Vegas what's going to happen and what's going to kind of be the pinnacle point and what's going to be the challenge in this relationship. And it's even hinted at. So it's like, it's kind of given to you. So it doesn't build up over the time. And once again, you have her being like, oh, he's just a Playboy player. And, you know, I don't really want the relationship with him because it's never going to go anywhere. Like, it was just kind of this thing, but yet there's still a pull. And once again, he's trying to show her that he's not, you know, just playing around with her. And at the same time, you have her worried about getting into anything because of the tension it might cause with her brother, and she doesn't want to be the problem between her brother and his friend. So like, it kind of had that dynamic, but it wasn't, to me, it wasn't as well developed or done as I have seen in other works. It wasn't bad, and it's definitely a quick read, but in comparison, it just really kind of fell for me. So 3 stars. It was what it was. Wasn't horribly bad, wasn't amazingly good, but it did bring us up to date for our cocky hero picks. So other than that, that was basically it. And like, I felt throughout the month, because I kept seeing all the stuff that I had to keep reading, that I was just like, kind of like upset about it to some degree, because I was just like, oh, I'm never gonna get it. But then I looked at how much I read. Like, I've read 10 books for the month, which I'm like, that's actually pretty good. So once I started looking at it that way, I felt a little bit better. However, obviously, we didn't get to some books. They are gonna have to be carried over. And with those, I think, let me see if I can sort them out here. We have How Does It Feel, which is one of the, I think there's 2 more books that need to be done for the main prompts for the Every Romance You Read, and this is one of them. I think Blood Mercy's the other one. And then we still have the Pirates and Viking prompts to get through, so I had pulled Hunt on Dark Water for at least the Pirates prompt. I think there's a Viking book I might have got. That was like an ebook. So I might have those, but I still have to read those. Obviously, we have taken a pause from our challenge, our challenge accepted jar, because we just haven't been able to get to those. We are still working on Circle of Friends that I have to get through. So that is one for that. Once we get through that, we can go back to the circle jar. And then the other books are for the Year in Aurelium prompts. I think my other June prompt was The House of Marion. And then I think it was June or July. I don't know. I might be backed up some more. But then we also had the Her Soul to Take and Her Soul for Revenge, which were the more darker, it was to read a dark book, and I think that was the August prompts. So we still do have quite a bit to read. Let me see if I can get these all kind of done. So all of these are going to carry over, plus there's like Blood Mercy. So we already had, like, I think I have some of it over here, books that we have to get through for September, because it is Magical Readathon month for us. And then I have these to get through as well. And then there is the Seasonal Spooky Challenge, which has more books. So that is why I actually, if you watch my T.B.R video, I'm not participating in the final book support group for the month of September. I did link an announcement video in my T.B.R because I do still support it. It's still something that I will continue to do. It's just with all the books that I still had to read, I think I was already at like almost 10 books with the Magical Readathon, that once we added in these, I was like, I have to focus in, zero in, and concentrate on these, especially with the Year in Aurelium. Like, there's only like 4 months left to go, and each of those is going to have prompts. So gotta do some catch up, gotta get these readathon, done when they need to be done, and go from there. But it was still a really good month reading wise for me. A lot of stuff happened just going on. It was a lot of chaos with it being, back to school and everything, and soccer season start up, because one of the kiddos is starting soccer starting soccer now. So I have officially become the soccer mom. I'm not upset about it. I'm actually embracing it. I'm liking it. So with that being said, we will continue all these books. These will roll over. Hopefully we will get a chance to tackle them in September. But hope your reading month is going well. Hope you were able to tackle all of your prompts for the month that you needed to. And as we go into fall, hopefully you're getting excited to watch the leaves change. Hopefully all your favorite drinks are in stock where you go and get them. And, pumpkin season is upon us. And with that, Hope you're well, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.